Hello, I'm Will and this is Mike with the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we'll be looking at issue 80 of Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol magazine, which came with the parts to complete the Armoured Sentinel for the Astra Militarum Combat Patrol and also finish off that faction. So we'll be looking at the painting guide for that, and we'll also be having a look at the entire collection up to this point, before we try out the Armoured Sentinel in its first game, where the Astra Militarum will be facing off against the Orks. Having a look through the magazine first, we'll have a look at the painting guide for the Armoured Sentinel. Its build guide obviously was in the previous issue. Starting with an undercoat of Abaddon Black, and then Macragge Blue for the searchlight, Lead Belcher for a lot of the mechanical parts and bits of the gun, and there are plenty of mechanical parts being a vehicle. Then Caliban Green for all of the armour panels, Catachan Flesh for leather straps on one of the boxes on the side, Corax White for certain sections of the Hunter-Killer missile, Piston Red for a little lens next to the light, then tidying up with Abaddon Black on places that are going to be black, like the weapon casing and parts of the exhaust stacks. Then that's what it should look like at this point. Then shading the entire model with non-oil, every single colour that we've used so far, and then we're on to highlighting, so Calgar Blue for the light, Stormhost Silver for all the metal parts, Auric Flesh as a fine edge highlight on all the green armour panels, so you have to be careful to do this neatly, since they'll be very obvious if you make a mistake, White Scarf for the white bits, Night Questor Flesh on the leather straps, Wild Rider Red for the red lens, Caliban Green on some of the body parts that were left black as a highlight, but then Mechanica Standard Grey on the weapon casing black, so you get different shade of black effectively. And there it is completed. If you followed all those steps, then that will be all the paints applied to it, obviously based in the normal fashion. Then we have a short story which features the Death Guard, a Chaos Space Marine Legion, devoted to the plague god Nurgle. So in this, a champion of Nurgle is musing about the spreading of the plagues throughout the galaxy. Gets a bit melancholy at one point because he realises that there are plenty of poor mortals who haven't received the gift of Grandfather Nurgle, but just gives him greater resolve to spread them further. Then part 20 of the Bonds of Honour short story, following Sergeant Askerton of the Silver Templars' quest to retrieve his bolt rifle. They came under attack from some World Eaters in the previous instalment, and here the battle concludes, but they still haven't found his bolt rifle, so there will be further additions to the story coming up. Then we have a bit on the command chain of the Astra Militarum. Being a huge military organisation, there are many levels of command, from the Lord Commanders, the 5 supreme leaders of the Astra Militarum, most famously the Lord Solar, whose model you can see here, who commands entire crusades and armies across an entire segmentum, down to high-ranking officers like the Lord Marshals of the Death Corps of Krieg, who command multiple regiments, right down to the line officers like the captains and lieutenants, who command companies and platoons on the field. It also mentions here commissars, the political officers of the Astra Militarum, whose task is to preserve fighting spirit and morale and punish cowardice in the ranks. Finally, we have the collection article for the Armoured Sentinel. These are bipedal walkers equipped with heavy weaponry that stride in support of the Astra Militarum infantry, especially in poor ground that's difficult for heavier vehicles to navigate. As usual, you can give it a background, you can name it and record its deeds. And that brings us to its datasheet, which Mike will go over before we get into the game. But before that, we'll have a look at the entire collection up to this point. So here you can see the entire Combat Patrol collection up to issue 80, with 8 of the 9 Combat Patrols now completed, only 1 of the World Eaters to go. This is a total of 214 models. The most recent 2 Combat Patrols, the Genestealer Cults and the Astra Militarum, are at the front centre, with the other 6 arrayed around them. We'll go over the 2 most recent in more detail. If you want to have a closer look at the other ones, you can go back to issues 20, 40 or 60 when we did a similar overview. Having a look at the Genestealer Cults first, this is a total of 37 models, actually the largest faction in the collection. At the front we have the Magus, behind her are 2 squads of 10 Neophyte hybrids, behind them a unit of 5 Acolyte hybrids and a unit of 5 Aberrants. And then in the back row, on the right is the Goliath Rockgrinder, and next to that a unit of 5 Atalan Jackals, which is the bonus unit for the Genestealer Cults Combat Patrol. And then the Astra Militarum. At the front we have the Cadian Command Squad, behind them 2 squads of 10 Cadian Shock Troops, then a 3-model Cadian Heavy Weapons Team, which is the bonus unit for that Combat Patrol, and finally at the back an Armoured Sentinel and a Field Ordnance Battery. That's a total of 31 models. And then also with the magazine we got 4 battle mats, 2 of which are laid out here, and not shown are the 27 paints, 3 brushes or texture tool, 12 dice, range ruler, or any of the terrain cards and rules reference cards that we also got with the magazine. So that is the collection up to this point. Only 10 more issues to go, at which point we'll do an in-depth overview of the entire collection, complete with the final Combat Patrol. But for now, I'll hand you over to Mike, who will take us into our game for this video.
So before we get into today's game, we need to look at the datasheet for our new Armoured Sentinel. So it's got an 8-inch move, toughness 8, 2+ save, 7 wounds, leadership 7 and an OC of 2. For its ranged weapons, it has a hunter-killer missile, which is the one-shot keyword, meaning it can only be fired once per game. It has a 48-inch range with one shot, hitting on a 4, strength 14, AP-3, D6 damage. Then it has a plasma cannon, which has 2 profiles. Both profiles have blast, a 36-inch range, D3 attacks, hitting on 4s. Standard profile is strength 7, AP-2, 1 damage, while the supercharge is strength 8, -3, 2 damage, but it has the hazardous keyword. And its melee weapons, it just has a close combat weapon with 2 attacks hitting on 4, strength 6, AP-0, 1 damage. It has Deadly Demise 1, and its datasheet ability is Mobile Hunter Killers, where each time it attacks a monster or vehicle, it can reroll the wound. And it also has the Smoke keyword, which must be one of the very few things in Combat Patrol that actually does, so it can use the smoke screen stratagem. Then on the next page is the overview for the Combat Patrol, as it's called Cast Gunners, because we have finally finished it. It just goes over what makes up each unit and what each one is armed with and so forth. Basically the same as the other overviews we've seen at this point. And a nice picture overleaf of the full Combat Patrol with some close-ups on the command squad. So now we have today's game to war, where the massed forces of the Astra Militarum and the Orks are facing off. So the battle mat is overleaf, we'll have a look at that in a second. The Astra Militarum player gets the command squad, both units of shock troops, the Ordnance Battery and the Armoured Sentinel, so it's the entire Astra Militarum Combat Patrol, and likewise the Orks get the War Boss, Death Copters, both units of boys and the Death Dread, so it's the full Orks Combat Patrol. Starting with the Astra Militarum player, the players take it in turns to select and place a total of 4 terrain cards. No terrain can be placed within 6 inches of an objective or within 6 of either player's deployment zone. The Astra Militarum player deploys first, followed by the Orks player, and then roll it off to decide who goes first. And in this battle, both players can use enhancements, secondary objectives, command points, and stratagems from their combat patrols. The battle lasts for 5 battle rounds. For the second battle round onwards, players score 5 VP for each objective marker they control at the end of their command phase, plus extra VP for secondaries. And in the 5th battle round, the player going second scores at the end of their turn rather than in their command phase. So this is essentially a full combat patrol game, just not using one of the combat patrol missions. You can see our battle map. We have 3 objectives, number 1 in the top left, number 3 in the bottom right, and number 2 bang in the middle. Each deployment zone is the bottom left octant for the Astra Militarum and the top right octant for the Orks, although we'll probably flip this around because I'm going to be playing the Orks in this game, so they'll be in the bottom left. And then we just have a reminder of some of the Sentinel's datasheet abilities. So the Mobile Hunter Killers allows it to reroll wound rolls against vehicles and monsters, so that would be the Death Copters and the Death Dread in this mission. And then the Supercharged Plasma, again, you just choose which profile you want, but if you choose the more powerful profile, you give to roll for hazardous. And then we have the victory outcomes for either side, so you can pause and look at those and decide who you're going to root for, and we'll get the game set up and get straight into it. Well, here we are set up for war. So you have the Orks in the bottom left and the Astra Militarum in the top right. We just flip them around for ease of use. We've got 4 terrain pieces set out, but it's going to be a very open board with objectives 1 at the top, 3 in the bottom right, and 2 in the middle. Just do a quick overview of the Orks. So I'm deploying everyone on the board, so I'm taking the Grizzled Scarboy enhancement for the War Boss, so he takes half damage from incoming ranged attacks. The War Boss and the Death Dread at the front, even though it's facing the wrong way, just so you can get closer to the objective. Boys flanking them with the Death Copters slightly behind, ready to zoom out. And I'll pick Stompham as the secondary objective, because the Guard can recycle units, so there might be more options for that. And then we have the Astra Militarum.
Yep, so you can see the new Sentinel at the front, poised to go and take Objective 3, because his guns are fairly long range anyway. The 2 Cadian squads are in the front line. I haven't attached the command squad to them, because I've taken the default enhancement, which is the command laurels, so I get an extra CP in my command phase, but every time they issue an order, it's issued to all units on the battlefield, so they don't need to be close to the front line, and this way there's less chance that they'll get killed, hopefully. And the default secondary objective is hold the line, so I get 3 VP at the end of the opponent's turn if there are no enemy units wholly within my deployment zone, or 5 VP instead if there are no enemy units wholly within 6 of the deployment zone.
So we're just rolling off to see who goes first. Oh, I won, so that's the Orks going first. On to Orks turn 1.
Actually, I've adjusted my deployment slightly because we realised that battle line units can secure objectives in a combat patrol game. This isn't technically a combat patrol game, but we're going to treat it as one because it is for all intents and purposes. So I've put some Cadians closer to Objective 3 so they can go and secure it, basically.
Yeah, and if we don't do that, all the infantry will just be standing around, not doing very much. So my turn's going to be over very quickly. In the movement phase, everyone advanced. So the unit of boys in the top there going over to take Objective 1, while everyone else charging into the middle of the board in proper Orky fashion. No shooting, because nothing's got assault, and I'm not wholly within 6 of the Astra Militarum deployment zone, so that means they get 5 victory points, and we're into Astra Militarum turn 1.
So in my command phase, I gain 2 command points, so I'm up to 3, and I will issue move to the officer's unit because it applies to all units in the army. That allows 1 unit of shock troops to move on to objective 3, but still shoot, so they don't have to advance. The Armoured Sentinel has moved backwards slightly to stay away from the Death Dread. The other brave shock troops unit has advanced into the face of the Death Dread to get the melter gun in range. Because they're expendable, effectively I can bring them back. The command squad moving back towards the artillery, which are obviously going to stay stationary. And then in the shooting phase, I'm going to spend a command point to use Bring It Down on the Death Dread, and we'll start shooting with that Cadian squad in front of it. They'll shoot the melter gun at that, and all the rest of the guns are going to go into the boys next to it. So the melter gun, 1 shot, hitting on a 4, but I can re-roll it thanks to Bring It Down. Good thing. Oh, it did hit. Wounds on a 4 because it's strength 9 versus toughness 9. That's a wound at -4.
6 up involved. No.
And it is within melter range, so it will be d6 plus 2 damage. 8.
Oh, that is enough to kill it in 1 shot. It's got 8 wounds. So does it explode? Ooh, it doesn't. Oh, well, that man has earned himself a promotion.
Roll the number of shots for the flamer. 1. And then I will roll all the hits from the las weaponry, of which there are 14 shots, because it's all going to be wounding on 5s with no AP. So it'll be on 4s. 4 hits plus the 1 from the flamer, winning on 5s. Well, 3 wounds.
5 up saves. 3 dead orcs.
I'll do the field ordnance battery next. They're going to shoot everything at the Death Copters. Starting with a bombast field gun, d6 shots, and it does get sustained hits 1 because it's under orders. Go 5 shots. Hitting on 4s, sustained hits 1. Well, that'll be 5 hits. Wounding on 3s because it's strength 7. Only 2 wounds at -1 AP.
5 up armour. Save 1.
So that's 2 damage. And d6 plus 6 shots from the Malleus rocket launcher. 11. And 4s for sustained hits 1. So 7 hits wounding on 4s with strength 6. 4 wounds at -1.
5s again. Failed them all.
Only 1 damage each.
Yep, so that'll finish off the wounded one, and another one's down to 2.
And then I'll shoot the Armoured Sentinel at the same unit, and I will supercharge the plasma cannon, but I won't shoot the Hunter Killer missile yet. D3 shots. 3. Hitting on 4s. Just 1. Wounds on a 3. 1 at -3.
So 6 up invulnerable. Nope.
So that's 2 damage. Will finish off the damaged one. It might be hazardous. It isn't. Then the other shock troops unit will shoot the plasma gun, supercharged, and a crack grenade into the remaining Death Copter, and all the las guns into the boys unit. Plasma on a 4. Hits. Wounds on a 3. Wounds, -3.
6 up. Nope. 2 damage onto the Death Copter.
Crack grenade. Misses. And 10 lasgun shots, or the Sergeant Alter gun on 4s. 7 hits on 5s, just 1.
5 up save for the boys. Failed, so that's a dead orc.
And hazardous plasma gun. Oh, it is, he blows up. So finally, command squad's lasguns didn't do anything to the boys. And I will actually declare a charge with the shock troops closest to the middle of the board on the boys unit. Just because if I can get into melee, they probably can't kill all of them, and it will tie them up. Their charge roll, that was only a 3. I won't spend a command point for that.
So that's the end of the Astra Militarum turn and the first battle round. Like I said, it's a pretty successful turn of shooting. And we'll head into Orks turn 2. So at the start of the battle round, I will declare a war.
But then at the start of the Ork turn, I will spend 2 command points for Artillery Strike, which is the once per game stratagem, meaning they have their movement characteristics halved, their advance rolls halved, they can't charge, and they have -1 to hit with shooting attacks.
I will gain 10 victory points though for holding 2 objectives, while the Death Copters have to make a battle shock test with Leadership 7. He's fine, doesn't care about getting shot at. In the movement phase, first thing I'm going to move is these Orc boys, who have moved a mighty 3 inches.
But when they move, those shock troops will overwatch them because they've got the flamer. The melter gun missed, and the flamer and the las guns all between them got 2 wounds.
So we've got 5 up invulnerables, because at least that part of the war isn't crippled. They failed anyway. I've got a lot of command points, so I'll re-roll one to try and save an Orc. Yay! So it may not look like it, but the Orcs have actually moved. But we can still shoot, so I'll do these boys, all their sluggers into that squad of guardsmen near them, while the rocket launcher into the Sentinel. So D3 shots from the rocket launcher, 3. Hitting on 6s, because we've got -1 to hit, because of the artillery strike. Nope. And 4 sluggers at the guardsmen. Ooh, 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, 1 wound.
5+, saved.
The Death Copter is just about in range of the command squad, so it will shoot at them, and it will fire his slugger at the squad in front of him, because it is a vehicle. That is actually the one with the custom Mega Blaster, so it's got 3 shots on 6s. It got a hit. Wounds on a 2. It wounds at -2.
So no save.
D6 damage, 2 damage.
Double 6 from the medic for someone to live. No.
Slugger hits as well. And wounds one of the guardsmen.
5+. Oh, killed one.
Oh, is it hazardous? It's not. Finally, the war boss will shoot at the guardsman as well. 5 shots, hitting on 5s thanks to his grot shooting. 2 hits, wounding on 3s, 2 wounds, no AP.
Kills another one.
But that will be it, because I can't declare any charges, thanks to the artillery strike, and I can't get wholly within 6 of the Astra Militarum deployment zone, so I'll get another 5 victory points for that, and we'll be on to Astra Militarum turn 2.
So the shock troops near Objective 3 are carried on moving further towards the bottom of the board. The other squad has moved up into the face of the Orks because they're effectively just a speed bump. The Armoured Sentinel moving up behind them because it's not afraid of being attacked by the Death Dread anymore. And the command squad moving forward so that the Death Copter can't engage both them and the artillery at the same time. And they should take aim to themselves so the whole army gets it.
So it's +1 ballistic skill for the entire army.
I'll start shooting with the shock troops on Objective 3. They're going to put a crack grenade into the Death Copter and all the las guns into the boys. Crack grenade. Hits. Wounds on a 3. Yes.
5 up invuln because of the war. Nope. You know what, it's quite an annoying unit and I quite like it to live. So we roll that into 1.
D3 damage. 2, it's dead.
It is dead.
So that's dead, but the las guns didn't do anything. So then we'll move on to the other shock troop squad. They'll shoot at the war boss with the melter gun, and I'll use a CP for bring it down on him. Everything else will go into the boys. So the melter gun hits. Wounds on a 3 against the war boss. It does.
5 up invuln. Failed.
D6 plus 2 damage. 5.
But it is halved because of his grizzled scar boy, so that will go down to 3, so he's got 4 wounds left.
Well, and then the flamer and the las guns managed to get a mighty 8 wounds on the boys.
5 up invuln saves. Oh, we made 3, so that will kill the boys and leave the Nob on 1 wound.
Do the Sentinel next at the war boss, and I will shoot the Hunter Killer Missile now because why not? So that's hitting on a 3 re-rolling because I bring it down. It hit. Wounding on a 2 because it's strength 14 or something stupid. Yes. At minus 3 AP.
5 up invuln. Nope, I'll use my reroll.
It's D6 but halved. So 3 again.
3, so he's down to 1.
And its plasma cannon, I was going to supercharge it, I didn't actually say so. It's done only 1 damage but it improves the AP. Gets 3 shots. 3's re-rolling. And 3's as well. 3 wounds at minus 3.
Only made 1, so yeah, that's enough to kill him.
Does it hurt itself? No. The command squad fired their 2 las guns at that Nob and failed to wound him, so we've just got the artillery battery left. They'll shoot their 2 crew las guns at that Nob as well, that he's now in range, but the 2 big guns will go into the boys over on the other side of the board. 2 las guns will just do quickly, on 3s because of the order, and a wound.
5 up. Oh, he lives.
Alias rocket battery then, D6 plus 8 shots because there are 10 models, so that'll be 11. Hitting on 3s because of the order, sustained hits 1 because they're under orders. Not brilliant, there was only 7 hits even with the sustained. Wounding on 3s, no, only 3 at minus 1.
5 up invuln. 2 dead orcs.
Field gun, 7 shots on 3s. No, that one's cocked. 4 hits on 3s. 4 wounds at minus 1 as well.
5 up invuln. 3 more dead orcs.
And I might as well charge that Nob. Well, they're in. So they have to surround him with that charge. And then I have 10 attacks because this is the squad with the sergeant with the chainsword on 4s. Ooh, 8 hits, winning on 5s. 4 wounds.
4 5 up saves. And only made 1, so that Nob is dead. So that is it. Only 5 orcs remaining at the end of Astra Militarum turn 2. So on to orcs turn 3. So the orcs are going to move up. They ain't afraid to know that artillery bombardment's ended. Surely another one won't be on the way right now.
Yeah, because the artillery piece is going to overwatch them when they move. They are within 24 inches of it. And they are still under orders. That's until the start of my next command phase, so they will get sustained hits. So Malice rocket battery D6 plus 7. 12. Hitting on 6s, but they will be sustained. So that'll be 6 hits. Wounding on 3s. 5 at minus 1.
6s. We made 1, so it's just the Nob left on 2 wounds.
Can he survive the field ordnance gun? 6 shots on 6s. Oh, nothing.
So we're down to 1 orc Nob, but he's going to go down fighting the proper orky way. But he'll try and shoot at Gaza and then charge him. He actually hit and wounded with his slugger, so we've got to do a save.
Oh, we killed one.
Oh, then his charge. Oh, he's definitely in with a 9. So 3 attacks with the big chopper on 3s. Well, they will hit. Wounding on 2s. They all wound at minus 1.
6s. Oh, kills 3.
Rain guards will pile in, and incidentally this 1 orc has killed more than every other model in my army combined.
And then the guardsmen have 6 attacks in return. 3 hits, wounding on 5s. No.
And I'm not within 6 of the Astra Militarum deployment zone, so they get another 5 VP.
Well, those Cadians have to make a battle shock test. They pass with a 7. So that means I do get another 10 victory points for holding objectives, and then those guardsmen are going to fall back and everything else will move up, apart from the artillery obviously, and shoot him. We'll start with the Sentinel because it's new, see if it can do the job. I will supercharge. Ordering take aim to the army, and then I'll use bring it down as well.
But that lone Norb is going to go to ground.
So D3 shots from the plasma, just 1. Hits on a 3, re-rolling. Wounds on a 3. Oh, it didn't, and it's not a vehicle or monster, so it doesn't get to re-roll, but I can spend a command point to re-roll. No. Does it hurt itself? No. I'll do the field ordnance battery, so the field gun, 1 shot, which hit, and wounded, -1.
So he's got a 5 up. Boy, he's still alive.
Rocket battery, 9 shots, re-rolling hits, and one was cocked. With sustain, that was 13 hits out of 9 shots, wounding on 3s. 13 wounds. Can he survive this?
You've just got to believe in the power of the war. Warcan Gorka smiling on us. He tried, but he's dead. That is a clear Astra Militarum victory. To be honest, it was probably clear a turn earlier than that, but it's nice to show off the Sentinel some more. But that'll be it for this game. We'll recap it for you now. So that was the game for issue 80 of Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol magazine. How do you think that went?
Well, obviously, stupendously well. If it wasn't for that last knob, I would have lost 4 models, one of which I killed myself with an overheating plasma gun. The Astra Militarum have struggled in some of their introductory games, which, to be fair, hasn't been entirely their fault. Some of them not been very fair to them. But in that, we actually got to see that when you have the army deployed as a whole, and they get to use their stratagems and all of their other rules, it all adds up to more than, I guess, the sum of the parts that actually make this viable.
And the artillery stratagem is really powerful. I think it's the only one in this magazine that costs 2 points.
You do have to obviously make sure you have the 2 command points in your opponent's turn to use it, but given that you get a free command point in every one of your command phases, regardless of which enhancement you take, you should be able to afford it.
Yeah, and I think it basically singularly counters the war. It's probably slightly less useful against some of the other armies.
Yeah, because when you use the war, that's obviously going to be a turn when you're planning to launch your big charge, and so if you can just say, no, you can't charge this turn, and -1 to hit with shooting as well, which obviously doesn't affect the Orks a great deal, but some other armies will not like that. You can really see how the stratagems and enhancements are really how this combat patrol functions, because all the units individually are quite weak. There's just a combination of things. The bring it down stratagem for reroll hits, giving orders to the entire army, the artillery pieces getting sustained hits when they're under orders, which we didn't even need to see the Sentinels rerolling wounds against vehicles and monsters because I don't think it needed to. And then of course had the shock troops that I sent forward being killed, I could have just spent a command point to recycle them. They would come in near my own board edge, of course, so it's not something you can use to get board control like the Gene Stealer Colts. But it does mean you can fairly ruthlessly sacrifice a unit as a speed bump like I tried to do.
Also, even the secondary objective, where just getting near the Astra Militarum deployment zone, could be quite a challenge in some of the layouts if you're going across short edges. And the artillery strike again helps with that.
Yeah, this deployment obviously is not a standard combat patrol mission deployment, and it made it very easy to achieve that secondary objective. But yeah, some of the ones like Archaeotech Recovery, for example, where you start nearly 24 inches apart. I suppose we should mention that I did get quite lucky with the melter gun just one-shotting the Death Tread, but I think if I hadn't, I'd have done a minimum of 3 damage, and I could always have re-rolled the damage roll. And I still had all of the other guns to shoot at the Death Tread at that point anyway. The only difference would have been that you would have had more boys in that boys unit, but it wouldn't have been able to charge anyway because of when I used the artillery strike.
To be honest, I think the boys are probably more of a threat. The Death Tread looks very scary, but it's got 6 melee attacks, so it can't kill a guardsman squad in 1 round. Probably the main threat is the boys just for the sheer number of melee attacks, and then the Death Copters will be able to hone in on the command squad.
Yeah, I tried to take out the Death Tread early because if it did get close to my lines, I would have had to just keep reacting to it, and meanwhile, you did have the advantage in board control. If I'd been forced to keep trying to deal with the Death Tread, you could have just been racking up points. Yeah.
So, and I do think it is certainly winnable for the Orks. You've just got to use a little bit more cunning, I think. Maybe a little bit of luck. Perhaps not be quite so aggressive if you're going first, and possibly the teleporter would be useful, but the issue is that with the artillery strike, you pretty don't want to bring in the war boss and his unit then, because they won't be able to charge. They'll just be out in the open.
It's also worth pointing out that they specify only 4 pieces of terrain. As you would have seen in our combat patrol games, we generally like to use more than that, giving the Orcs something to hide behind, potentially at least.
Well, and also it's specified it can't be near objectives as well. Although I think normally there's supposed to be a bit of a gap, and perhaps not quite such a big one.
So perhaps in a full combat patrol game, the Guard won't feel quite so dominant.
Yeah, and obviously the new Sentinel is a cool model. It's a nice update to the older one. And as part of this combat patrol, it does add a bit of mobility. Obviously decent value for money, although a Sentinel I think is generally a bit cheaper than some other kits. Pretty easy to magnetise if you want to do that and get all the options out of it. I guess the issue is that the plasma cannon's perhaps not the most sensible choice for it, because it's just going to hurt itself.
Yeah, the plasma cannon was quite good in this specific instance because it's quite good against Death Copters and the Warboss, who has a good save. There are some armies it's really not going to do very well against.
Yeah.
Or it's not going to have that many targets, and it's only D3 shots. Even though it has blast, it's still not brilliant.
Yeah, it's actually quite weak, being only damage 1 base and damage 2. It's not even going to really get through Terminators very quickly. Well, it's not especially good against big monsters and vehicles.
Yeah, because its weapon stats are best against something like Space Marines or heavy infantry, basically. But its rule gives it rerolls against monsters and vehicles, which are usually going to have higher toughness than its strength. And so yes, the rule will help it, but it's not really the best gun for that in the first place.
Yeah, and it has the Hunter-Killer Missile, which are notorious for missing, even with rerolls, or failing to wound, even with rerolls. So the fact that it did something is noteworthy in this game.
It's the sort of thing you'd use, ideally, when it has take aim, and you can use Bring It Down, so that you have the least chance of missing as possible.
Yeah, and obviously we had a look at the collection up to this point, mainly the Astra Militarum and Gentility Combat Patrols. Both really good combat patrols as starting points for their factions, just because of the sheer number of models you get. Both really good values for money, obviously. This was the original Astra Militarum Combat Patrol. It gives you decent options, gives you a nice block of infantry to get started, just because the Acadians are just such a solid infantry block.
Yeah.
The Sentinel and the Ordnance Battery are just generally okay. It's certainly much better than the current one, which has loads of cavalry, unless you want lots of cavalry. You could argue that it would be better to have something like a Lehman Russ, but that'd probably be a bit too powerful for combat patrol. And only one more to go, so we'll do a separate video once we finish the collection to have a look at all of them a little bit more closely. But other than that, there's not too much more to say about this game or this issue, so if you like this content, do leave a like and subscribe. And leave any comments how you've been getting on with the collection if it's not finished for you. It's been finished for us for a little while now, but we'll still finish it out. We were the Tail Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.